Now we're at the summary. Okay, I said in the beginning that creative thinking or resourcefulness was modeled for me. My mom did a lot of creative things through the years. She sewed hundreds of stuffed animals for a church bazaar a couple of years in a row. She created this beanbag chair that looked like a cheeseburger that was actually two pieces because the top bun was a separate piece, and it was raffled off. And like 10 or 15 years later, after she made that, she ran into the lady whose kid had won it. And the lady talked about how much that kid loved that thing for years and years. It was really funny. I remember that she made paper mache nativity figures that were about 3 feet tall, and she covered them in shellac. And they put them outside, every year for Christmas for several years. They held up. And she formed them and she painted them, and they were beautiful. A really cool thing that she did was whoever owned the house before us was a very tall lady, and the kitchen cabinets were mounted higher than normal. And my mother is not a tall lady. And after a few years, she couldn't stand it. So she lowered the kitchen cabinets. And that's when I realized those things are just like screwed onto the wall. They're not like part of the house. And she lowered them. And then you have the gap at the top, like 8 or 10 or 12 inches, whatever it was. So she got somebody she thinks she got an electrician for that to put a light in. But she drew out and cut a cornice board for that with a scallop design. She cut it with a jigsaw. She sanded it and stained it and probably shellacked it, and it's still there and it's beautiful. And I often think my mother did that. If she saw something that needed to be done, my mother did that. I mean, she had to stand on the counter to do some of this work, and I just thought it was really cool. To me, that was empowering. Another thing she did was she designed a float for a parade after the had to do with Buzz Aldrin, after Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walked on the moon. And Buzz Aldrin was from Bellwood, and I grew up in Hillside. And that was really cool to think that this astronaut grew up in Bellwood. It really made a connection, like, hey, such a crazily famous person doing such an amazing thing grew up like a mile from me. I just thought it was, I didn't become an astronaut myself, of course, but it was still very inspiring. I was looking him up too, just to see if I remembered that right, that he was with Neil Armstrong. And they said that either by fate or coincidence, Buzz Aldrin's mother's name was Marion Moon. Okay, just throwing it out there. So those are a little bit things about my mom. She did a lot of things that demonstrated how you can do things with what you have, if you have the confidence to figure it out or get somebody to help you. I've done a lot of things too, as you can imagine. If you know me, I built radiator covers for our living room. Okay, my husband helped me a little bit, but I planned them and acquired the materials and all that kind of stuff. And another fun thing that I did was I have a sort of a desk in the living room, and I've always thought this would be really nice if I had 2 cute little stools to put underneath that. And so what I did is I went to a resale store, and they had these 3 wooden chairs for $5. Okay, I really only wanted 2, but you had to buy 3. So I used the first one to experiment with. I just cut the back off so that the top was even with where the legs came in the front. And I popped the cushion off, which is real easy. It's usually held on by 4 screws. And cushions like that are super easy to cover. You just put your piece of fabric on. You have to, finagle it a little bit, get it nice and smooth, and a staple gun. Use a staple gun on the back side of it. And the first one I made was beautiful. I just used a piece of fabric that I have, and I gave it to my daughter for her apartment. She loved it. And then I made the other 2. I carefully chose the fabric that I wanted to go with my living room, and they're great. I pull them out. I can't tell you how many times we pull them out from underneath there. They're just sitting there, and they look cute, but then you pull them out. You can sit on them. They're also kind of flat, not real puffy, so they can even be like a side table too when you have people over. I've done a lot of things. I bought one of those junkyard windows. It has 12 panes of glass in it. And then I bought a used book about flower arrangements through the years. And I put them in there, and I have that hanging on the wall, and it's really cute. Here's one of my most really fun things that I did. A couple of years ago, we put a new kitchen floor in, and we just did vinyl flooring because I didn't want ceramic tile, and the wood wasn't great. So we did the underlayment. We carefully put the vinyl flooring down. It was a pretty easy room, not a lot of cutting. And then we got a new stove and refrigerator. But when the stove was delivered, there was something wrong with one of the adjustable feet in the front. And when the installer slid it into place, it cut my new flooring. And I was a bit heartbroken. And then, but I called the store, and they had a guy come out. He looked at it, and I thought, they're going to tell me that it has like a square design on it. They're going to tell me I can just patch that. I'm going to have to stand up for myself. The guy just came in and looked at it and said, yeah, this needs to be replaced. So the company paid to replace it. Now we had to do the work of cutting it again, put it in, but we got the kitchen floor. And the big thing was, now I had that gigantic piece, like a 10 by 12 or 12 by 12 piece of vinyl flooring that only one corner had a little rip in. So I used a big piece of it on our enclosed front porch, and it looks really nice. And then there's a door in the kitchen that goes out to the little pantry area. There's a landing and the stairs that go down to the basement. Well, now they have the same flooring as the kitchen. So I really got a lot out of that somebody else's boo-boo. And so that was a fun thing that I did. Okay, and just a quick review of the mega skills. Confidence is about feeling able to do a thing. Motivation is about wanting to do it. Effort is about being willing to work hard. Responsibility is doing what's right. One of my aunts had a favorite poem that she would put in when you had a baby. She'd send you a card. It was something about teach your children to do what they know they should do, when they should do it. And something like that. It's a nice poem. Initiative is moving your ideas into action. Perseverance, completing what you start. Caring, showing concern for yourself too and others. Teamwork, collaborating. Common sense is about using good judgment. Sometimes delayed gratification, that can be a tough one. Problem solving is putting what you know or what you can find out and what you can do into action. All right, so now you see how resourcefulness or creative thinking is encompassed in all of these and goes way beyond. There will always be some times in your life when you don't have everything you need. You don't have something that you need. Even if you have a lot of money, maybe you're in the middle of a project and you don't have something. If you can improvise, you can stop and think, what can I use without going to the store? You know, you'll serve yourself well. And if you don't have a lot of resources, you can be creative and come up with things, change things around. I've done a lot of stuff like that through the years. Dorothy Rich said that these aren't the only mega skills, but these play a strong role in determining success in school and beyond. They don't drop from the sky and land on a lucky few. They can be taught at home by parents. They are the values that undergird our work ethic, our national character, and our personal behavior. Mull that over. Maybe put that on your refrigerator. That's a good one. I don't have any firsthand school experience, but sadly, I don't think that a lot of traditional schools have, got on board this revolution that Dorothy Rich worked so hard for. Part of it is time. Since the 80s when she was doing this. Now, most families have two working parents, and there really isn't a lot of time, and schools are happy to take that over from us. But I hope that you've been able to see how even little tiny things can sometimes build towards the big stuff. Most kids are going to go to school at some point, maybe high school, probably college. And having nurtured these skills is going to serve them well. And in life in general, maybe as they raise their own kids. I do want to say too at the end, don't hang it all on the future though. Stacia Tauscher said, we worry about what children will become tomorrow, but we forget that they are someone today. So remember to have fun while you're doing these things that will have a payoff in the end. All right, that's what I had for you about Dorothy Rich's book, Mega Skills. It is a little bit hard to get. Not very many libraries had it. I had to order an inexpensive used copy online, but it definitely is a good read.